Hello and welcome to Talking Athletics with MTJ. Today, it's minus the J, just the M and the T, M to the T. A lot of rhyming there throughout
So
that.
you explained the hell out of that one, didn't you?
Really got into it. But yeah, just me and Tom today. I'm your host, Mike Papa. Joe's away on business. I think he's bowling, right?
Sounds
he's
right.
Bowling. It's been real tough for us to get all of our schedules together, so last week you guys tried to make it happen, ran into some technical issues. And me and Tom are here, but we figured it out, so we're going to let it rip for this week. It's just going to be Tom and myself. I should probably bring up the notes real quick. We're going to start it off with, I'm going to let you lead into the first segment because it was your idea.
I do, and I like this idea, and it's something that I think we can do on a fairly regular basis every time we get together and film, and that's a sports-related would you rather. And this one really isn't that sports-related.
It's related to sports.
But it's related to sports, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, the Kelce brothers have been getting a lot of media attention this year, and that's a new thing for, I would say, one of the Kelces within the past year. Travis has been a well-known figure. He's stepping into a new realm.
Well, it's kind of weird, actually. I think it's like the second wave of Kelce is really what it is.
I would agree.
You know what I mean? Because with the Super Bowl with like Mama Kelce, she was
everywhere.
But
everywhere.
Go on.
And the Kelces, I think, going to the Super Bowl playing against each other,
even historically for sports.
Travis Kelce's been the number one fantasy tight end for the past 3 years, something, a good chunk of time.
Jason's highest paid center in the league now.
Yeah, and rightfully so. He's a top 100 player in the NFL. I think he's the only center on that list.
And a lot of people say that he's the best player in the league.
And
a lot of people have said that.
I think there's one prime example of that, and it's the brotherly shove. Yeah. There's one reason that play's successful to me, and that's because Jason isn't losing.
It's funny.
He may not be dominating every one-on-one matchup with the nose tackle that's in front of him, but he's not losing. If you get blown back into your quarterback, that play's not going to work. It's the only way to stop the play.
Well, it's funny that you
brought that up. But if you maintain your ground, then you can utilize a push.
When I was thinking about this situation, like when we talked about it, like when you brought up the idea, I was thinking about, like, I literally thought in my mind Jason Kelce is the CEO of the tush push.
You know I mean? No, 100%. Like, it's all because of him.
Because he makes it happen.
And that's why other teams can't replicate it either.
But anyways, go on. We got off track.
And I don't think it was a bad way to get off track because Jason is getting a lot of hype, and I think it's more related to the media that he's putting out himself, as they have the very successful podcast.
They both are deserving of the hype they're getting, but they're getting hype for two different reasons.
But a center doesn't get love for his play.
Yeah, that's true.
But like you just said, they're getting a lot of attention for two very different reasons. Kelce, Travis, has been getting a lot of attention for Taylor Swift, and his numbers with her in attendance and without her in attendance are actually mind-boggling.
Crazy.
Do you think there's anything to that? I'm going to get it off us even more off topic on the Kelce wave, and we're just going to let it ride.
All right. Well, I mean, think about when you were playing ball, when your girl's watching, you're strutting. You know what I mean? Like, when you're out there playing your sport and somebody that you know is watching you to see you play good, and you are good, you're strutting different. You're hitting harder, you're running faster, you're playing smarter, you're looking better all overall. So yeah, I think it makes total sense.
I agree with you to a point, and I'm gonna even put more emphasis on it. Where when Taylor's in attendance, I think Mahomes also knows that, hey, I got to get Travis a tutter today.
True.
Because
they're homies.
Well,
they're homies too. So even for that,
exactly for that, and for the fact that he knows Arrowhead, a solid 20% of Arrowhead fans are there not to watch the football game anymore. Like, I shouldn't say that because they sell out pretty frequently. So, but they know Taylor's going to get shown on the big screen if Travis gets a touchdown.
Oh, absolutely. Well, she's going to get shown on the big screen anyway, but
it just has to happen. So, just to put the stats down on record here, and I'm getting this from sportingnews.com. Travis has totaled 34 catches, 432 yards, and 2 touchdowns with Swift in attendance. And without, we got to pull those up. I thought they were right there, but of course.
And
they're not.
She's been to what, like 4 games?
I want to say even 3.
And 4, you said what, 42 catches and like about 415 yards, something like that?
34 catches, 34. But 400 plus yards.
That's even better.
And yeah, I mean, you're averaging 8.5 a game, 108 with half a touchdown a game.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the stats without because it's actually really bad. Like, just not good for him as well.
You brought up a really good point, though, when you were talking about Patty getting him the ball more. Because, I mean, there's no shot in the locker room. He's walking by, he's like, yo, Taylor's coming. You know, you want...
It's been oh, yeah, 100% that's happening. But it's really...
And plus, they're boys. They are best friends.
It's been really interesting to see the Chiefs' dynamic of the targets there, where Mahomes clearly doesn't have a clear number 2.
Yeah.
And...
Because none of
I don't know if they're trying to... I don't know if he's trying to find it by spreading it out, and they've been winning.
Really I think he's just really good, and he could just... It's crazy that he didn't know how to read a defense when he got to college. And he just seems like that's... It's crazy to say that is one of his biggest attributes is reading a defense. You know what I mean? And with everything he can do, with the physicality part of his game, even if it's running and his strength, but obviously he can throw the ball 4,000 yards, and he's just an absolute unit. It's crazy that one of his biggest attributes is his ability to read situations and make the right play. And
no, he's the best quarterback in the NFL. I'm not questioning the man. Yeah. They're doing something for a reason. But when Travis Kelce, who is hands down the best tight end in the NFL, is getting 46.5 yards a game without his girlfriend and
we're good.
And I was gonna say, that's lower now because that's the left to his own devices clip that got posted by CBS during the game, and that was a week ago when they had Taylor in attendance, and he went for 143 that day, and then last week in Germany, not the best day for Travis without Taylor.
Their situation, that's a whole other conversation. I don't even want to get into that.
Yeah,
I was gonna compare them to.
We can go deeper down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, but that's a different conversation.
But who would you rather be right now? That's my question to you. With the big news of Jason Kelce getting named to the top 100 sexiest men, I believe. That was the Men's Health top sexiest men in the United States right now.
I think he won I think they both won it in 2 different things though. That's the only thing I'm confused about.
Well, I don't know if Travis won anything. I just thought it was awesome that Jason was getting the recognition for being the attractive Kelce when his brother is dating Taylor Swift.
Well, yeah, his brother is dating Taylor Swift, but he's also married to his wife, who is a beautiful woman. She's a very pretty lady. And she seems pretty dope too. We were talking about that.
Yeah, no, she seems super chill from the documentary, and
I really like that documentary.
Even like bits that I've seen of her, joining their podcast, like she does seem very down to earth, very chill, and I think that it makes Jason also, very down to earth, very chill, which he seems as well. They're a really good match.
I loved when I saw this excerpt on their podcast where she was on, where she was like, they were talking about how Jason's jerseys, their sales were going up and up and up and everything with his popularity, and she said she was like telling all the ladies of the world to like, she ain't about that. She's like, I'm not a little woman. She's like, I will defend my man. And I was like, I love that. But if I had to choose, I would 1,000% pick Jason Kelce.
Really?
They have the best of both worlds, but 95% of them as a person is in the spotlight right now, and then one's not. You know what I mean? One is getting the credit he deserves for his play on the field and being a dope dad with a wife and deciding to play another year to try to win a ring because you couldn't win last year. And then the other one is dating Taylor Swift, where half the stuff they do is stuff I don't want to go out and.
I'm saying, but I'm not even just looking at the relationships they're in right now. I'm looking at everything. Like, so life as a whole, situationally as a whole. Like, I guess whose shoes would you rather hop into right now?
So you're saying if I could literally be them?
Yes, you get to be. Like, it's a video game, and you're gonna take over their life. You just watch the intro. You're making all the choices from here on out. You're in that body. So who'd you rather be?
100% Travis Kelce. The very first thing I do is break up with Taylor Swift.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, dude. Yeah. America'd go nuts.
Yeah.
The world would go nuts. Who am I kidding? I'm sleeping on the Swifties.
But dude, who wouldn't want to be Travis Kelce though? Like, being that good of a tight end where you're pretty much a wide receiver, but you're also the best tight end. Like, I would love to be that. Like, be that good. You know what I mean? Like,
that's where I was thinking. The reason I asked you this is
tough.
I felt like this was a really good conversation because I felt like I could take either role. I felt like
I agree with that.
You could flip it either way, where you could say,
feel
hey, I'm not about the Travis is known to be a little bit more of a partier, where I guess you don't have to be once you're taking over his lifestyle.
But that I feel like that's a cheat code. You can't do that. We gotta pick up the
So
life where it doesn't live that life.
And you gotta live the life out? Okay, that's fair.
I would pick Jason for that reason. Just because Travis's life is like very much in the limelight.
That's fair.
Jason's kind of not. Other than Philly. And plus Philly loves him.
And
he will retire no matter what and be loved there forever.
My pro for Jason is I think that he is going down as the most famous center, and I would probably put him as that's another good debate
him and Jeff Saturday.
Yep, that's the only other one. That's the only other center that came to mind. I'm sure there's probably some guys back in the day that were great that we don't know of, but when I'm thinking of big name centers, those are the main two that I'm thinking of.
If he can win a ring this year, I give it to him because he would win a ring with two different quarterbacks. And Jeff Saturday only ever had.
Okay, that's fair.
He only had Peyton.
That's fair. But that's
and
where
he also only won one. I'm pretty sure, didn't he? Because Manning won his next with the Broncos.
I believe so.
Was Jeff Saturday with the Broncos then? I don't think he was. No, he was still with the Colts because it wasn't in the Pro Bowl that he took a snap for the other side.
Did they get one? Yeah, he was with Green Bay at that time.
Oh, then he might.
That's right. I don't know if he got one with Peyton, because I don't know if Peyton got one as a Colt. Did he?
Yeah, they got one. Now you got.
You're right. They beat the Bears. They beat the Bears.
Okay,
no.
Now you got me wondering.
Who won that Super Bowl? No, the Bears won. No. The Bears have never won a Super Bowl. Gosh, I am looking terrible right now. The Bears have never won a Super Bowl. I want to say that is a
2007
fact.
Against the Bears, yeah. Oh,
they won that game?
Who won that, yeah.
Because I feel like I know.
Yeah, they won that one against the Bears, yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah, so he's got one with him. With Payne.
I feel like Pat, that was the year before Pat, right?
Pat McAfee?
Yeah.
I think McAfee was
because I've heard I'm thinking of the video of McAfee talking about how when they lost a Super Bowl, like he saw everybody so distraught, and he was like, "Yeah, guys, what's the big deal? Like, we'll just be back."
Season, wasn't
yeah,
it?
And he's like, "Guys, we're just gonna do it again next year."
Like
rookie
year,
and he didn't grasp it, so that's where I'm getting the two mixed there.
He wasn't there for when they won.
But yeah, so they did get one there. Let me double check. But now that I've said the Bears never won a Super Bowl.
Jason won this year with Jalen Hurts. I would put him in the most notable centers of all time because not only did he win 2 rings, he did it with 2 different quarterbacks. And
terrible.
Was a massive part of both of those. Like we both agreed that he's the CEO of the tush push.
The Bears won 9 Super Bowls.
That is a huge part of
terrible.
The Eagles right now.
There's a lot of teams that haven't won a Super Bowl, and the Bears just weren't one of them. I forgot the Bears were good
really
back
good
in the day. Yeah, I forgot about the Dick Bears.
Yeah.
The Bears.
Wow. That was good.
If you're not still listening after that, you don't deserve to watch us.
That was good, yeah.
But yeah, so that's where I would say Jason, arguably the top tight end of all time. I don't know if Travis ever gets there. Because
of all time, best tight end of all time?
Because Tony Gonzalez was so good on both sides. Gronk was so good on both sides, like to the point where I think both of those guys are above Travis because I don't think Travis is that great of a blocker. He's the best receiving tight end maybe ever. But those other two guys are so, and maybe even Antonio Gates. Like there's some big name tight ends that you can pull out where it's way more of an argument to me.
So who are you putting at 1 then?
Gronk. And I hate to say it, I hate the Pats, but Gronk was a different.
I think Gronk was different because of his ability to catch the ball no matter where the ball was around him.
And Gronk was a dominant blocking tight end.
And his ability to score, but we both agreed that Travis Kelce is the best receiving one. Like, the best receiving tight end. Can we agree there? The best receiving tight end?
I would say the best route running, too. And that is a big part of it. Route running, he's the most athletic. He's a former quarterback that they've turned into a tight end. Like
I think that he's better than Gronk simply because they're the same age. And he's probably going to play for like 2 or 3 more years. They're the same age, right? Aren't they?
I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. I would just disagree there just based on the resumes. Gronk's resume speaks for itself.
Yeah, but he had the best quarterback of all time. His entire career.
We're talking about the dominant Chiefs, right?
Yes.
He never had he never had a bad quarterback.
He had Alex Smith, who was a game manager, though.
Ooh, in Kansas City?
Yeah.
Alex Smith was playing Andy Reid football still.
But they would lose 2 to 3 games every year and then get bounced in the playoffs immediately. And he was not treated the same way.
But I'm saying Alex Smith had 35,000 career passing yards. That's a lot of passing yards.
And Travis Kelce weren't best friends like Gronk and
That's not what you said,
Brady
though.
were.
I said that he didn't have a bad quarter. He never had a bad quarter.
No, I know. I'm just saying that Gronk would get the ball way more than from Brady than Travis would from Alex Smith.
And I think you have to look at the other weapons that were around, and that's where Gronk established himself immediately as a number one. He was the number one target for that team.
Okay, we're gonna actually get into what I said we don't have to talk about later, or that we can talk about later. I was gonna say earlier, I was gonna compare Patty and Travis to Gronk and Brady because of the fact that they both have had pretty good guys around the tight end. But the tight end has been the major constant throughout the entire run. That's what I was going to say earlier. I would say
now is the most comparable they've ever been because they don't have a wide receiver.
Yeah,
where the Patriots never have a wide receiver, and they never have a dominant running back. Like it's a conveyor belt of running backs. Like they use 3 guys. Like Rex Burkhead.
I agree.
He went to Houston, didn't do a whole lot, right?
Terrible.
They find guys that and
for a year.
They use their niches so well, and it's because Belichick is a genius, and I hate him.
You're right.
But
I totally agree with you. And the reason that I think Travis Kelce's better is because he's been surrounded by better people for more of his career. Like the wide receivers and the running backs that have been on his teams are like all very notable guys at a constant, with the exception of right now and last year. But last year they won a Super Bowl. So what I'm saying is Gronk was more of a
But what
focus.
you're doing by making this statistical is you're taking the blocking element out of being a tight end, which isn't
Travis
fair.
Kelce's a really good blocking tight end. Though.
No, he's average. He's above average. He's good.
I think he's very good.
We're talking about Gronk. When Gronk was at his prime, when Gronk was in his prime, Travis Kelce was in the league. Yes?
Yeah.
Gronk was better.
Yeah, Gronk.
Hands down. That's not an argument.
Gronk
Yes?
was better when he was in the league. Yeah, he was.
And they were in the league at the same time, and they're the same age.
Yes, and one of them is not in the league anymore.
And one of them is also
just won a Super Bowl.
One of them is
still the best in the league.
If you let me finish my sentence.
Mister, you cut me off all the time.
One of them blocks significantly more than the other, which is wear and tear on your body.
That's fine if he blocks more. That doesn't mean he's a bad blocker when he's blocking. He just is
I'm saying
more like a wide receiver.
Gronk blocked way
he was
more.
Relied on to block a lot more.
Yes, and blocked way more.
Travis
Kelce was not in a lot of times. They would bring in another tight end to block early in his career.
If you take every single matchup that Travis Kelce has played against since him and Patty Mahomes had this dynasty team, every team they've played, including his own team, where for a lot of it he had Tyreek Hill, he is most of those the third best receiver on each side combined.
Gronk
was very rarely that.
Before I get off of this, Alex Smith never threw for under 3,000 yards in Kansas City.
Yeah, he very
never
much
threw for under. After he left Kansas City, that's when it went downhill. But in Kansas City, he threw for 4,000 yards his first year in Kansas City.
Yeah,
after they traded for him, I believe, from Washington.
I was always a very big Alex Smith fan, but he did.
That was his last year in Kansas City.
But you're right, he threw for 4,000 yards, but in those teams, Travis Kelce was not the focal point. During those years, on the Patriots, the focal point was easily Gronk, 1,000%. Travis Kelce was the second on a good day. Was
100% making my point. So as a defensive coordinator, you're about to play the Patriots. You are game planning Gronk.
Yes.
When you play the
Chiefs,
Chiefs,
around him.
Are you game planning Kelce? No, you're game planning Hill.
Absolutely. Since the dynasty started, absolutely.
You're doubling Hill. 10 times out of
You're
10, you were
acting
doubling
like
Hill. This is the first year,
you're
the second
acting-
year that he hasn't had him.
you're
Last year, it was they were
Hey, don't
defending
cut me
here.
off, mister.
I never wasn't allowed to finish my sentence, not coming up with new sentences on the spot.
What about
That's very different.
what
See,
about
I
Randy
just cut you
Moss?
off.
What about Randy Moss?
Randy Moss, that was very good.
What
he was
about-
there for what, a year?
What about the man who, Aaron Hernandez, no longer here. He was fantastic when he was with Gronk. They had Randy Moss, Aaron Hernandez, Gronk, and they had a guy that ended up going to the Broncos.
Who was the number one?
Randy Moss.
Who is the number one guy getting the most targets?
Randy Moss.
Number one tight end getting the most targets.
That was very split. At that time,
No.
Aaron
It was
Hernandez was
1/3.
Aaron Hernandez was considered the second or third best tight end in
Yes.
the league at that point.
Yes,
It
he was.
very
You want to know
split.
who was above him? Gronk.
Yes, but
Gronk was always above him. Gronk was
but
always
it still
hands
was-
down the best.
I didn't say he wasn't. I'm saying that it was very split though. It wasn't as you're saying that
While-
Gronk was the bona
and
fide
this-
number one guy. I'm saying he wasn't on those teams. He was the third or fourth.
And this is
fourth
while
option.
Travis Kelce's in the league.
Yes.
So I don't get how you're saying that Travis Kelce is better in a career aspect
Who?
with more Super Bowls, multiple teams, left the league, rejoined the league, and then again was a top 5 tight end at that time, right up there with Kelce.
All right, look at their targets per season then.
I looked up Brady's stats to see
And
how
also,
much passing yards wise.
You glossed right over the fact when you were saying that Alex Smith was a good quarterback and how he was throwing for over 3,000 yards and mentioned how he had 4,000. Over 4,000 yards is good. Over 3,000 is not an impressive stat. But also that same year, you don't act like Alex Smith was even half the quarterback that Tom Brady was those years because he wasn't. I'm a big
agreed. I'm
Alex
not
Smith
saying
fan,
that.
and he was great. But even if he's thrown over 3,000 yards, he is not focusing any of his attention even close to Travis Kelce the way that Gronk was focused by Tom Brady. That was his opportunity to succeed compared to Travis Kelce's was way higher. Plus, he had a way better guy throwing it to him. That's why. That's why I think he's better because now that we're finally getting to see that he's the only guy they have, they just won a Super Bowl and he's 34.
And that's where we keep going back to stats.
34.
We keep going back to stats.
He won a Super Bowl at 34. Gronk wasn't even in the league at 34.
So going back to stats, where's the blocking stats?
Look up blocking stats.
There aren't blocking stats, Mike.
Okay.
That's my point.
But
So
I'm
that's where
saying
you're going straight to stats, and Gronk was
I'm
the
saying that
best
he's more
blocking
focused.
tight end probably ever.
He was. You're right. I agree with that.
That is half of football, running the
understand
ball.
that, but I'm saying is Travis
So
Kelce
half
is-
of the time,
Travis
Gronk
Kelce's
is
a
the
way
better tight
one than
end.
you're giving him credit for, though. That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying that Gronk is so much better at blocking comparatively to Travis, and you're not missing out on too much in the receiving area. That makes Gronk the better tight end because you run the ball half the time if you know what you're doing as an offensive coordinator. You try to keep it 50-50 and keep it split. So half the time, Gronk, you have already admitted, Gronk better blocker. So half the time, he's already better than Travis. The other half the time, he's not that much worse. So
No,
therefore,
the other half-
Gronk, better player.
The other half
Period.
of the time,
That's logic.
The other half of the time, he's not on the field. Gronk was in the most injury-prone tight end we've seen.
That's fair. I give that to you. When on the field.
Yeah, when on the field, I'm taking Gronk any day of the week, but I'm not taking Gronk out of Travis Kelce because he's not going to be there half the time. And then, God forbid, we lose a good quarterback if we have one, because then he's going to leave because he would voice that all the time.
So, but then I feel like you're taking where I'm looking at the tangibles of what these guys have athletically speaking, or what they bring to the table tool set, where you're looking at the how they were
Longevity
and
and
how they were
availability.
used. And how, so I'm saying you're a GM. You get both of these guys coming out of
Travis
school.
Kelce.
They're very similar. They're partiers. They're crazy, like on some
The
aspects.
only reason Gronk
So-
got discovered was because of Bill Belichick, though. Nobody would have gone for him. I'm not saying discover, but I'm saying given a chance.
You're kidding.
Given a
Tell me,
legitimate chance.
please tell me you're joking.
But I don't think anybody would have gone with him if Bill Belichick didn't. I truly don't. I think
You're insane. You know nothing.
all right.
Have you looked that up? Is this a thing that you have looked into?
No, I just don't.
Gronk's draft status.
I don't think he would have legitimately been given a solid chance. And even at the end of the day, I'm taking Travis Kelce no matter what. Simply because he's going to be there way more. and he's going to give me 1,000 yards every single year. If you're telling me you're an incredible tight end, blocking tight end, you're a great blocking tight end, even above average blocking tight end, but you can also give me 1,000 receiving yards a year, yeah, give me that. Give me that other than the guy that's not there half the time.
I'm saying if you chose to use Gronk in that fashion, you could stretch out his career.
No, you're not really. Travis Kelce gets hit just as much.
He isn't in the trenches getting as dirty as Gronk was getting. Gronk was...
Yeah, but when you're on the outside, it's not as dangerous as being in the trenches, though. As dangerous. It's still dangerous, obviously, because you're still in the scrum, but you're on the outside. You're not like a center or guard where you're getting collapsed on by 8 different people all around you. Everything's more focused to a side, where if stuff gets...
The most athletic defender on the field is what position?
I'm not... Yeah, but that's going to be...
Defensive end.
But that's where...
They're some of the strongest, most athletic guys.
You're helping them, though. That's still the tackle's job. You're
not on a run play.
Cornerbacks most of the time.
On a run play, when the D end is outside of you and you're sealing them out, you're pushing out, making the hole, and it's an inside run.
Well, yeah, you obviously need help. You're getting helped.
Sometimes, yes, agreed.
Way more often the fact that they're running between.
You want to know what's way easier is when you don't have to help the tight end because he's Robert Gronkowski and he can take him one-on-one. Your O lineman can then go grab the backer and seal him off. That's extra game planning, and that's why Robert Gronkowski is the better tight end because he makes your run plays way easier because he can take a guy one-on-one.
Run the ball, he's gonna make it 8% easier.
8. Please run me through the numbers.
Run
me through the numbers, please.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I guess.
How did you get to 8?
He's not that much better.
You can't throw out a non-specific number like 8.
No, because I'm saying.
And tell me, well, I thought about 10, a nice round number like 10, and was like, not enough.
You took that a complete, I'm saying that's a complete accurate fact. What I'm saying is it's a low percentage. You're not getting that much of an input on run plays.
I'm asking
you're getting 400 more yards receiving out of you. That you're making up way more yards per that receiving than you're getting from that running.
I'm asking you where and how you came to the conclusion of 8.
Okay, then how can you come to the conclusion that it's a bigger gap? Then it's our biggest argument.
This is commonly known. This is common knowledge.
I'm saying that he is the best blocker of all time, but I'm also saying Travis Kelce is really good at it. That's it. But we can't prove it. You're getting mad at me for not believing you. I don't know. You keep saying yourself that we can't prove it. I don't know. But I don't agree with you. I just think the input you're getting from receiving is doing way more than the input you're getting from him helping with blocking.
Yeah, I don't agree.
Agree to disagree.
I don't agree at all.
It's blasphemy.
All there.
I guess we might as well move on to the next topic then, which is another one you brought up with Miami good against bad teams. Enlighten me on what you saw with it. And I got
Hold
to
on,
that.
You can do the intro for it because I am looking up these Gronkowski. I haven't even gotten to Gronk receiving stats yet.
Honestly, you can just show me games played, and that's enough to sway me either way. Because if he hasn't played even close to the amount of games that Travis Kelce's played and the amount of possible games that they could have played, if that makes sense, then I don't care. What is it? They say 80% of playability is available. I butchered that. What does it say?
I have no idea.
Something
I know what
about
you're trying
available.
to say, but I don't know the saying.
But being available is so key.
I think that is an interesting debate that could lead you into the Shohei Ohtani conversation of he's always injured, but he's dubbed the greatest player of all time, both on the mound and as a hitter.
Yeah.
He's still going to get paid a truckload of money to go wherever he's going to go.
Yeah.
And he's still going to be injured.
Well, I think it's the fact because of what he gives you, and I don't know a ton about baseball, so I'm not going to sit here and say that I do. But I think the what he gives you offensively, it's warranted a ton of money, and what he can give you on the mound is warranted enough to justify it being added on top.
What if I told you games played? Gronk has 143, Travis Kelce 151.
And what I said available though. Available games played. How many did they miss? Go per season and add it up. How many a year they miss. You know what I'm saying?
7, 1.
Because Gronk's body betrayed him at the end of his career. That was why he really had to give it up. I mean, he probably still could have played very well for the next handful of years, but he got to a point where he just didn't want to do it because of his body anymore, which I think was a great idea.
11, and he had 3 games missed with New England his last year there. Half a year missed, 1 year. So he had 2 years with half a year missed.
That's
and then
big.
like a couple games missed here or there. First season with Tampa was a healthy season though after 2 years.
Good for him.
And then missed a couple games the 2021 season. But looking at yards, 9,000 there. He missed a game in 2020. No, yeah, he hasn't missed like a half season or anything like that.
Yeah, so availability right there. I'm going with him. If we can agree they're 1 and 2, can we agree there?
I agree with being available and being healthy is a nice perk to have, but I'm also not gonna.
Can we agree 1 and 2 though? Or you said you don't even
Dude,
know.
Tony Gonzalez, dude. Tony?
And Tony's incredible.
Tony revolutionized. Tony was the guy that made being a receiving tight end a thing.
Yeah, but you could also say Travis perfected it.
And I disagree with that because I still think Gronk's better at it. So that's where I don't think that.
No, you said he created the receiving tight end though. You could say Travis.
But that's where he was still a big dude though inside. Like he was never. I don't think you'll ever find a video of Tony Gonzalez split out like standing up as a wide receiver. He was always down in a 3-point stance.
That's what I'm saying. So you could say that Travis perfected it.
And that's where
you could still say Tony's a better tight end, but the receiving tight end aspect, like since he goes out and runs routes outside, not where the tight ends normally say.
And that's where I would say that that's.
And you can even say he revolutionized Tony's revolution.
I agreed. I would say that where it's a very different form of tight end that Travis plays, and that I think is a big reason why. I think that's a big reason why he stays as healthy as he does as well.
True.
So, it's.
So you're giving him a negative for being smarter then? No, I'm just kidding. No.
Listen, if we think this is Travis's idea, let's be real here. This is game management and the Chiefs knowing, especially this year, I think that, hey, if he goes down, we are really screwed.
Like
really we've seen him the games that he isn't involved are the games they struggle.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, hands down right now, number 1 tight end like in the NFL by far, not even close. It's not even Mark Andrews is good at times, but it's different. It's different.
Another team struggling, Miami. Struggling against good teams.
That's right, they're terrible.
What was it you saw?
That's right. I really just wanted to argue with Joe, so I'm upset that he's not here for this.
You want to table it? We can table it.
I mean, I just don't have a whole lot to say other than, like, I feel like we're on the same page with it, where there's not a whole lot to go into with they're below 500 or below? I think they're below 500 against teams above 500.
Yeah, they have a losing record against teams with winning records.
And in order to make the playoffs, you need to win. You need to beat good teams.
What I think is kind of interesting is this is actually this is something that we're just now discovering, and it was kind of a question mark last year too, but I think it got masked by Tua getting injured. Because they were super wishy-washy last year, but it was just always a chalk to Tua being injured. Yeah, maybe that was just a fortunate circumstance for them where it's they were still masking it. I mean, not fortunate.
They played.
Obviously,
they were in the playoffs, weren't they? They played the playoff game last year with Skylar Thompson at the helm. Expectations are just so much higher, and the record looks really pretty right now that everybody thinks that they're right with I knew the Dolphins were going to be, at the top of the AFC East this year, and I think it's a prediction that we're going to see go away very, very soon in the near future. Well, what I'm saying is that
also can be attributed to the fact of Tua being hurt last year might have masked that they were also wishy-washy. Because when Tua played, it was undefeated for the first 8 games that he played. And then they kept losing when he was getting hurt, and then it got wishy-washy after that, and everyone kept saying if he can come back from the injury, maybe their team just wasn't good. Maybe now they're just not as good. They just have looked obviously they dropped 70, so they're good. They are good, but maybe they're just not as good as we think because it was so masked last year. They are good. They're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
They should make it through at least the first round of the playoffs.
I don't know if they will.
They dropped 70 on a team this year.
I don't know if they will.
A team that beat the Chiefs, mind you.
They're going to be playing somebody that's above 500. And that's the thing is I don't know if they will.
Yo, I put something down each time they play against a winning team. You want to put your money where your mouth is? Put a unit down?
I will.
Yeah.
You know, I'll
Give
actually no,
stats?
I won't. I won't put a unit down every time.
Well, go with something. Put something
No,
down.
I probably won't. I won't even lie to you and say that. That's not how I do betting. Vegas knows stuff that I don't know.
I'm gonna do it.
And the way to go about it is live bet. Let the game start a little bit, and then if you think something's gonna happen and you get a little shift in the line, then you're betting with Vegas. Is the way I've been looking at it. And always, don't bet more than you can afford. 1-800-GAMBLER. I believe that's the addiction hotline. On all the ads.
Yeah.
So be smart about your money.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're good. I think
the next game this Sunday will be a good. Is it this Sunday?
Who are they playing?
They got the Raiders this Sunday. I think it's a good defense to match up against that offense. I really like the Raiders defense.
Looks good, man.
I'm a big Antonio Pierce guy, being a Giants fan myself. Hated to see that dismantling the Giants with actually it wasn't the Giants. He dismantled Tommy DeVito. We'll get into that later.
Well, I mean, it's Tommy DeVito.
Tommy DeVito's terrible.
What do you expect, though?
I mean,
that's all to talk about with Miami. I mean, I would do his shows here, and if he wants to...
I expect Skylar Thompson. That's what I expect, points. At least something. Positive passing yards. That's what I expect.
At least, yeah.
They got a tough couple games here, because the Dolphins have the Raiders, the Jets, the Commanders, and the Titans. Those are their upcoming schedule. The Titans, I would say, is the weaker end of the defense there, but you got 3 tough defenses back to back to back. Let me see. Yeah, no bye either.
Yeah, your offense is definitely going to be tested.
Yeah, you're going to see what you got.
And a rebuttal for them,
defense isn't getting tested a whole lot.
Rebuttal for them, too, is every time a team scores a defensive touchdown, statistically, they have an 80% chance of winning the game. They lost to Kansas City by a defensive touchdown. A freak play at the end of the first half. You know what I mean? It could have been 14-3 going into halftime, and they would have won 17-14. You know what I'm saying?
So that's where I think the whole thing.
No, obviously that isn't a perfect world. That's what
because
would happen.
You got to remember, even when the 4th down and they got the ball back, there was still a minute of time to knee down, and we've seen Pat with a minute of time do some weird things.
It's true.
Like score multiple touchdowns.
It's true.
Where the other team also scored a touchdown. There were 21 points put on the board in an NFL game in under a minute, I believe, in that Buffalo-Kansas City game, which is just crazy to think about.
Well, even
no, it might have been a field goal. It might have been 14. It might have been 17 points.
Last week, the Texans did it against somebody. Who did they play last?
That was weird. The C.J. Stroud absolutely tore apart the Buccaneers' defense.
I'm so mad I drafted Bryce Young in my dynasty.
Yeah, you look dumb. That's tough.
I just don't watch college, man. I just don't.
I
have been now because I've been obviously working at the radio station. I've been following a lot of Syracuse.
Hold on. I think CJ's the one that tested really well, though, wasn't he? We did a little bit when we were doing our trial. I don't think we have the footage. I don't think because we didn't have mics or anything. I don't even know if we were recording.
Didn't one of them test bad?
And it might have been really Stroud. Bad. That's where I'm gonna come back to.
But I think that was also said to be fake too.
Yeah, had a score of 18%. His was the lowest of all time. Bryce Young scored a 98% there.
Yeah. Not playing like he scored a 98. Something that I saw too, which I thought was really interesting, was ESPN released their rankings via the analytics of the NFL, and
the
Buffalo Bills got 3rd. Which is wild to me. Is that not crazy? Crazy high? They should not be on 3rd.
I wonder if it had a written date. Of when this was written, because if it was written a month ago.
True. Yeah, because they didn't have all the
I could see it on paper at the very least, but they have a lot of these leagues, and I know I probably say it on every single recording that we have. I'm very much a what have you done for me recently fan and viewer. And
you can even argue it's been what have you done for me most of this season. You know
what I mean? Yeah, no, and it's
they lost to the Jets week 1 when they lost their quarterback 15 seconds into the game.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They threw out Zach Wilson back out there simply because he knew the playbook. Not because he was the best available, because he was the only guy that knew the play. He was the only available.
I mean, that's a big game in the division too, because they're only one game up on the Jets.
It's a division game.
Would be a tied. Yeah, it would be tied up with the Dolphins right now for first. Like it's such a big swing in a game that instantly. Oh my gosh! Speaking of that game, if we're gonna bring it up, did you ever see the video of there was a bar, I think out in Green Bay, they were essentially protesting the game, and it was if the Bills win, your tab was free. And
I think I inferred what you're talking about.
A lot of people
saw
Aaron Rodgers' Achilles blow out and said, I'm getting a free bar tab tonight. And all of those people were shell-shocked at the end of the night trying to figure out what the hell was going on. Oh my gosh, that punt return. Oh, dude. I like seeing Josh Allen succeed, but there was just something about watching that punt return, the watching the little guy Jets.
It's the star of like Hard Knocks. Like didn't even know if he was gonna be on the team.
Yes.
The game
yeah.
You
know
what I mean? Earns the spot. It was for the rest
just
of the season.
Ideal the way that all panned out there. So going back to Bills being third.
I think it's crazy.
Who do they have listed above them? That's probably a good question.
I think
it was
ask. Chiefs and I think even Philly was like 7th.
Those were the two that I would have expected to be above them.
Let me try to find it. I had it here somewhere at one point.
That's an interesting.
I could that could be completely off, but I remember seeing a team that was also very
Niners.
Weird. That's what it was. The Niners were low. Philly, I think it was second.
So where they have the what? You got to pull up that list, brother. I gotta know because that's just where the third. It just doesn't make sense to me even. Top 5, yeah. I'd put him probably 5.
I wonder if my stomach growing.
4 or 5. I popped my shoulder earlier, and I'm really hoping the mic got it. Like, it's one that I know I can feel, but I don't know if I can hear it.
Yeah, I just saw an article that says Dallas Cowboys, and it's written by Cowboys Country. It says Dallas Cowboys rank above Eagles in weird NFL ESPN computer model.
Weird. Yeah, that's just atrocious.
Yeah, okay, here's the top 10. Number 1 is the Chiefs, 2 is Baltimore, 3 is Bills, which I'm okay with Baltimore being 2, though. I'd be okay with them being 2.
I could see an argument for them being better than the Bills, but
I think they're better than Bills. I don't think the Bills should be 3. I think it would be Eagles 2 and then Ravens 3. But let me get through it real quick. Bills 3, 49ers 4, Miami 5, Cowboys 6, Eagles 7, Chargers 8, Bengals 9, and Jaguars 10. Which having that's really good timing. An ad came up right as I finished reading that. But I think having the Bills at 3 and the Eagles at 7
that's egregious.
Wild.
There's your vocabulary word of the day, folks. Egregious. Yeah, no, that's terrible. I don't know what model was like. Yep, this is it.
Oh man, like
I don't know what guy was sitting behind there and said, "Yep, this is it. This is the one."
Maybe the model was like just one guy that's watched a few games. And they're like, "Hey Pat, we forgot about this. We need a list."
There's some. It should be, because like I don't know how what statistics you plug into a computer that plugs out that response.
It's got to be like they had like a computer person, like analytics person who isn't like a sports fan do it, and then they forgot to do it, and like the day before they just like threw the list together and like, oh crap. The Bills were good, right? They're supposed to be like Super Bowl contenders. Yeah, put them 3, and then just like went with it. Because that's tough.
Like, even then, you're forgetting Philly. Like Philly added. They didn't lose anything, and they added. And you put them at like I just don't. That confuses the hell. That almost makes me more upset. I'm a Giants fan.
Yeah, because you're missing.
I'm almost more upset that they're at 7 than I am the Bills being at 3.
You're missing Matt Milano, Von Miller, Tre'Davious White. Poyer's kind of scraped up right now. Your offense is not running the way it's supposed to. Josh Allen's thrown 5 picks in at least 5 picks in 5 straight games.
So I guess you could say that the computer model might not have taken into account injuries. That could be something that, I feel like would be hard to code.
Well, even with that, the offensive production isn't really quite there. You know what I mean? I mean, it's there in spurts. I've been saying this for like 2 or 3 years. This team, their offense, even though it's built differently, the production of this offense reminds me so much of the 14-15, 15-16 Killer Bees. Like, with Ben, AB, and Bell.
I hate that you called them the Killer Bees.
That was their nickname.
I know, but I hate. It's just a.
They
terrible
might have been
nickname.
the best trio. In
it's just,
history.
but it's just an awful. It's just an awful nickname because those god awful uniforms.
Those are my favorite uniforms.
They're terrible.
I
dude.
love them.
They look like rugby uniforms, and they're terrible.
They make me.
The only way that they look good is if you give Troy Polamalu, Troy Polamalu, with his head and shoulders hair. You know, that's the only way that jersey looks nice. Everybody else made it look terrible.
I love that, man.
You should.
But so that team, like, and the Bills are very similar. Like, for like two or three quarters out of the game, no matter, like, they might be like randomly throughout, not the first 2 quarters or the first 3 quarters, just for 2 or 3 quarters of that game, they will look like the best team in like the league offensively. And then for 1 quarter, they won't be able to do anything other than negative things to themselves. You know what I mean? It's the Steelers were just like that. They would look like unstoppable for a lot of the game, and then at one random moment for like a quarter's worth, they'd be terrible and they would lose them the game in the long run. And the Bills are a lot like that. Plus, the Bills are so banged up on defense. How could any list, no matter what, they're missing 3 of their best defensive players, man, in 3 different positions. I understand 2 of them are linebackers, but one's an inside, one's an outside. 2 different positions.
Yeah,
at the end of the day.
It's just the fashion in which they're winning is not what we're expecting. Even in the wins, they don't look overly impressive. I'm trying to see they blew out the Commanders and they blew out the Raiders. That was early in the year, and that was after the loss in overtime. So that's the 2. So they beat the Raiders 38-10.
Lost the Dolphins.
They beat the Dolphins. They blew them out. So they had a 3-week stretch where they looked good.
And that was the week after the Dolphins laid 70.
And that's where if you're making this October 1st, before October 8th, it looks good. And even after October 8th, that's a 1-game loss to the Jaguars, and that game was overseas.
True, and the Jags, they have in the top 10. So.
And then you come back, you have a weird game, you have a sluggish game offensively against the Giants, but you barely come out with a win. And then you lose to the Patriots. You lose another division game to the Patriots.
It's got to be like heavily weighted in strength of schedule or something. But if they lost to the Patriots, actually.
They lost to the Pats, dude. And then you lost to the Bengals here again. So, like, the past 3 games, the past 4 games, because they barely beat the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers was a 1-score game. So, you're looking at everything here, and I don't think it was really a 1-score game. I think the Bucs got a late score, and that made it look like a 1-score game late.
Another group of teams winning weird games is AFC North.
AFC North, that is strange right now with that looking at the standings just because everybody is a contender.
Everybody in the AFC North.
And I shouldn't say everybody is a contender. Everybody's a contender on paper record-wise
If you went to the playoffs right now, every team in the AFC North would be in the playoffs, which is I think it's the first time it's happened. But obviously it's
first time it would happen.
It's not. But
there's a lot of division games left to be played against one another. It won't happen.
It potentially could.
I don't even think it'll be closer than than NFC East last year. Because the Commanders weren't terrible.
No.
They were on the bubble late.
I don't think the Steelers are a good team.
So that's where. But the Commanders were the only team that didn't make the playoffs out of the NFC East last year, and they were in the hunt.
If any team in the AFC North is not going to make the playoffs, it'll be the Steelers.
Let me see. AFC North. Agreed.
Sadly.
Agreed completely. Like I don't know if it has to do with talent. I don't think Pickett's that bad.
Both. I think Pickett's an okay, like at best okay quarterback, and I also think Matt Cannon.
I'm glad you brought this up. This was something I had thought about earlier today.
He's clutch as heck, though. He reminds me a lot of Eli.
And I thought about it earlier today. Forgot about it completely. Is there anything to look into with the Steelers having wide receiver issues, just in general, over the course of that being an organization, going all the way back from Antonio Brown?
AB. It's been since AB.
So that's what I'm saying. Since AB. So now it's kind of and that's where. When did Tomlin get hired on as head coach? He's been there a long time, I know, but that's where I'm trying to figure out.
He's had some solid wide receivers come through the room though. Emmanuel Sanders, Hines Ward was there,
And that's where I'm trying to figure out Hines. That's where I think Hines would have been there before him.
He was, but he would have carried on the culture that Hines Ward knew, because it's good culture.
You would think
it was good up until AB. I'm telling you, dude.
And that's where it's just something happened.
Martavis Bryant was just a goofball. I think he was an anomaly.
Yeah, so that's where, how are you reading into something being wrong? Is it a quick fix? Is it just a locker room? Like,
I think it was
Chase Claypool. I will say, like, he's clearly, since he's left Notre Dame and gotten on his social media status.
Yeah, we can say the same thing about Juju.
And that's where Juju as well. That's where I was going to bring him up in there. But that's where did Juju go to college? USC. That's where he's a USC kid. I expect that.
Well, a big reason why
go Irish.
Reason why I say since AB is because I think.
But now Pickens is on the list.
Well, yes, I think Martavis Bryant just liked to smoke weed, and him and Bell made bad decisions. I think because Tom was a player coach, he's more lenient with the players, but I do think he's also a really, really good coach. But
I'm not saying he's not, dude. So, you can't not finish under 500 and be a bad coach. He's good.
Yeah, so I think Martavis Bryant is an anomaly when it comes to the wide receivers, because outside of him, up until when AB started really getting crazy, outside of Martavis Bryant, there really was no issues with anybody. Like, we had really good wide receivers come through. Really good wide receivers.
So you had young Plexico, right, before he shot himself?
Yeah, he shot himself.
I think New York Giants had.
Yeah. But we also had Mike Wallace, who never really got in trouble. We had Emmanuel Sanders, who was a generational type of guy.
And dude, let's be real here.
Not generational, but a time period type of guy.
I don't feel like AB just fell off the deep end one day. They were doing a good job of keeping him on a leash or muzzling it. Like, I don't think it went from 0 to 100 like we're all seeing, and that's why it's such a shock.
I do think it was an abrupt change, but I don't think it was 0 to 100, because I used to follow him on Instagram since he was a rookie, and every single post he had, he was always very humble with everything he wrote, and every post he had ended with like, "All be the glory to God," like everything. Like, he was very religious. Very humble.
So change over time.
Yeah, and also I think he got a big head once everybody was telling him how good he was. I think he was like, "Yeah, you're right," but I think his hit from Vontaze Burfict wasn't helpful. I think that really escalated whatever CTE he probably already had, because that was straight shoulder of a 250-pound man to your head, on the side of it, the most tender part of your head.
I wish that to nobody. That I really pray to God that man donates his brain to science, because that'll be an interesting one to study.
But I think at that point he started getting so bad that we lost control of AB, and then we had no more good wide receivers at that point. Because, like, Emmanuel was gone. He went to the Broncos. And Martavis Bryant
Juju was supposed to be the number one.
Well, not even, I'm saying a little bit, even before, with Juju. So, Juju comes in to be a rookie, and he has a fantastic rookie season.
Guy's a stud, too.
He is here on the list of rookie wide receivers. And then you have the only quote-unquote mentor is a guy who talks a lot of crap behind your back, saying that you're not that good. So then you're going to get a big head because everyone else is telling you is, and then you get into a competition of who's better, and then you lose you get a gain in ego, and it kind of goes downhill, and then that guy's gone. And now you're the bona fide leader, and you have that ego he left you with. And look at all the wide receivers that have come through since then. Now we're having
Claypool never even got to have that issue, but I'm sure at that point, when it becomes a
well. He was out there saying he was the top 3 wide receiver in the league. No, you know what I mean? Like, there's a power trip going through our wide receiver room that looks like it's still lingering, and that is where it is a good question of when Tomlin loses something, can he not get it back?
And that's where
and he's too loyal. I think that's his biggest issue.
I really think George is so good too.
I think Pickens is, like, as though he's doing it very childishly. I think he's right. I think he's being held hostage because Tomlin will not move on from the league's worst offensive coordinator.
That is the big issue here. I don't think this, and this is, we're saying a lot about this is Tomlin's issue to fix, and it is Tomlin's issue to fix.
But he just won't.
The issue is we're not saying what the issue is, and the issue is the play calling and getting guys the ball that need the targets to stay involved in the game mentally.
Yeah.
And not give up on their organization and feel like they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And Matt Canada that's his first name, right?
Yeah.
That is the issue. And it's his inability or lack of seeing the need to get rid of or make changes. The change they made, how do you feel about that as a Steelers fan? Do you know about the change that they made? I believe that they moved him out of the press box and brought him down to the sidelines.
Yeah, I don't care.
How does that make
it? It doesn't.
How does that make it
anything.
easier to call plays other
What,
than
is Tomlin going to be able to yell at you now in person?
Well, you're getting. I guess you're force feeding that feedback, whereas it's on a telephone. Up to the press box after the drive or whatever it is.
They have headsets.
That's true. But it's not face to face.
A big difference.
You're getting face to face interaction with the quarterback when he comes off the field. That's the only thing I think you're gaining.
I think you'll have Tomlin getting more involved with the play calling.
Oh yeah, you need to. Somebody needs to get involved with that. And that's the thing now is where Pickens, I believe he'd taken every Steeler photo off of his Instagram, off his bio. Unfollowed the Steeler, all of the classic millennial ways of saying I want a trade without going to the front office directly and saying I want a trade. Yeah. It's the weirdest thing in the world, right? Like, remember back in the day where you'd get the breaking news alert that somebody's requested to be traded? Now you just disassociate your instant. You go high school petty mode on them, disassociate from everything, and you're like, yeah, they get the point.
They get the point. I think he handled it very poorly because me and my dad were talking about this situation specifically, and he actually brought up a good point. He's like, I couldn't imagine playing on any of my teams growing up or whatever, where a guy who didn't score for as long as Deontay Johnson didn't scores finally and not celebrating with him. And I was like, that's a good point. I remember a specific time in one of the sports I played growing up, a person scored in a way, whatever sport we were playing, and I wasn't a massive fan of them as a person, but it was the first time they ever scored, and I was so happy for them. And I was like, that was a great example, my dad bringing that up. And I'm bringing that up because Deontay Johnson scored for the first time in 390 days or something last week, and there's a clip after he scores of everybody running up to celebrating with him, and George Pickens just walking off the field by himself on the other side of the end zone, which is a huge red flag type of play, because that's just selfish.
That clip is. I saw that same clip, and who was the other wide receiver that was right by him?
I don't remember who was
there,
right
but
by
there
Deontay
was.
Johnson. You talking about Deontay Johnson?
No, I think it was when Deontay Johnson scored.
But what are you talking about specifically about it though?
There was another wide receiver directly next to George Pickens.
Not when I was watching. Not the part I watched.
It might. And this one was. I think it was on TikTok that I saw it. So there was another wide receiver right by him. And it was the exact, I'm sure it was the same touchdown, it could have happened multiple times, but the one that I saw, I want to say Deontay scored. And another wide receiver standing right next to George. George, he ran a slant, I think a 5-yard and slant, and probably could have forced the ball into him. The guy was there, but he had him bodied off. Deontay was wide open for the touchdown. It was a pick play on the other side, and they ran it very well, and he was wide open.
Yeah, he was wide open.
The other wide receiver sprints over in the airplane, the celebration, the crazy arms. George immediately turns around and jogs off to his sideline. And that's just where the guy's not happy.
No.
He's not happy with everything that he's done on the petty Instagram side, but that is worse. That's toxic, though. You need to get that out.
Yeah, that's a bad red flag. That is selfishness, and we don't want selfishness.
But do you want to know
where what?
It gives me the same vibes as where I'm saying that it's the same situation, but it works. Is the Eagles with AJ Brown? We've seen AJ Brown get fussy when he's not getting the targets, and Devonta is having the big night.
Yeah,
but they force feed him his targets even when Devonta is having the huge night to keep him involved mentally and to calm him down. Yeah. And I really think that's all you need for George.
They do the same thing with Diggs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Even if the guy's doubled, force an uncatchable ball that maybe he has a 10% chance to catch, the defenders have a 0% chance to catch, just to keep him involved in the game. But you also got to be having good first downs. That comes down to the Matt Canada issue of it, where you have to manage the game to the point where you can't be putting yourself in a 3rd and long situation to be doing that, to keep a guy involved in it mentally.
But also to play the devil's advocate too, to think about all the great wide receivers in history. Their quarterbacks threw to them when they weren't open. All the time. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So to play devil's advocate, I do get it. George Pickens has a very good radius. Maybe throw a couple that you think he can't get and let him get because he's gotten them. He's shown that he's gotten them. So maybe that's why he's frustrated. He's like, dude, like at least give me a shot.
No, I really think he.
But also,
I wouldn't put him as a top 10 wide receiver, but
I don't know.
I think he has the ability of being a top 15, top 20 wide receiver, and there's a lot of wide receivers out there when you actually go through the names. So
we're also 8 games through your second year. Like,
agreed.
Relax.
Agreed, but he also is with Deontay coming back. He's gonna have to settle into a number 2 position, but he's better than 2 targets a game, 3 targets a game.
Well, can we at least agree that what he did after Deontay Johnson's touchdown is inexcusable?
Oh, agreed.
Okay.
No, that's toxic, and you got to get that out.
Yeah,
you got to get that out.
Figure that out.
You have to find a better way, because at that point you're taking your frustrations out with the offensive coordinator on somebody that doesn't deserve it, that's trying to do the same job as you, and that's win.
And who hasn't done it in almost 400 days.
And at the end of the day, winning needs to be the goal.
And you're mad that you haven't done it in 40 minutes. He hasn't done it in almost 400 days.
And he also should have had a touchdown that game. Didn't drag his back foot.
Yeah.
That's another thing that slept on there. But I guess that really brings us into the last football topic that we have today, which is an article that we just read before doing this podcast here. I want to say it came out roughly a week ago. Let me actually get an exact date. Nope. I was wrong about the week ago. 2 days ago. Today the 9th?
I think so. No, it's the 9th.
Yep. 2 days ago, November 7th, on Sports World News, it was reported by...
It's got the words news in it.
It's
official.
Dude, that and the person that they are quoting here is a writer for Sports Illustrated.
That's credible.
So there is some credible sources, I believe, with this, because he's using his sources, obviously unnamed. But if you
give credit to a quote that's inside another article, are you then?
I think
you're not making it credible. You're making it incredible.
If you're going through the MLA citations and doing this straight college style, pretty sure you're supposed to go to that.
It would be incredible.
That's just a terrible dad joke. I thought you were actually being serious about the citations. No. I was like, I have no clue how we got here, but I'm here for it.
No.
We can go to the citation machine and see how to actually do it.
What is that, like the BSA or whatever it is? PSA?
I don't remember, but I'm letting you know if we
got
got my college laptop up there, it's bookmarked, favorited number 1. Like anytime you had to cite something, you just plug in the URL, creates the citation for you in whatever style you needed it in. And heaven forbid does your school figure out what citation style they want to use.
Right.
Like every single teacher's got to use a different one. I feel like it's like mandated. You lucky SOB, dude. I had one teacher use Chicago, one use MLA, and then there was APA as well. That was for like the whole comm department or something like that.
We used APA.
Oh, it was terrible. But that machine made it way easier. Yeah. But anyways, going back to it here with the story that we just read being on Mac Jones having some issues with the Patriots front office is what it's sounding like here, not meeting his expectations. And that's where I kind of differ, because I watched a lot of college football, and Alabama played a lot during those big games late. So you're seeing a lot of Mac Jones playing against some of the better defenses. I think what we're really seeing is he was seeing guys way more open in college, throwing to Jalen Waddle, throwing to... Oh, gosh, I wish I really knew more of the Alabama guys' names off the top of my head. Jamison Williams, there's another good pull. Well, he actually hasn't done anything in the NFL just yet. He's a deep threat at the moment.
I thought Jamison Williams was on Ohio State.
I'm 95% sure Bama.
You're probably right. You know a lot more about college than I do.
I'm going to pull it. Now you're making me second guess it, though. Olave was Ohio State.
Yeah. Well, I saw a list of all the Ohio State wide receivers, and it was wild, and I thought Jamison Williams was on one of them. He also might have transferred.
He transferred to Alabama in 2021. There you go. Both. Okay. So, yeah, he gets both. But, yeah, no, so, like, their wide receiver core, like, Waddle was the number 2. Trying to think of who the other... Ruggs. Henry Ruggs. There's another good pull. It's a fast pull.
Fast pull.
Like 156. There's one more. Oh my gosh, dude. We said his name 5 minutes ago. Devonta.
Devonta Smith. Yeah, Heisman, Devonta Smith.
Yeah, Heisman, Devonta Smith. Yeah, that guy. And they're really... Find me a college DB core that's going to cover those guys all being on the same team. Yeah. You know, like, that's tough. And even they're really good defenses. That's a different kind of weaponry.
Made up of
number
NFL
ones.
Wide receivers.
NFL number ones. Waddle's a number 2, but take away Tyree, he's still a number 1.
He's a number 1 on any other team.
Yeah,
most teams.
Yeah, so you're talking about number 1s and a convict. But the moral of the story being Mac Jones not performing well enough and not meeting expectations to the point where people in the front office are talking to writers and is being published in media now.
Yeah.
So Mac Jones officially on the hot seat. And I really don't know if he is meeting your expectations. Is really were you expecting more from Mac Jones?
I don't care about Mac Jones. What this is showing me is Belichick can't do it without Brady, but Brady can do it without Belichick. Because on paper, for the most part, these teams are made up very similar to the teams they had with Brady. Not as good, I'll give you that. Not as good. Defenses aren't not even shells of what they were. But offensively is really more of what I'm speaking of. But even if they had a great team, Mac Jones isn't a great quarterback. Belichick can't get good enough pieces around him to make him better than what he was. What he felt he did to Tom Brady was make him better than what he really was. He's not getting those bona fide guys. He's not getting those average guys that he can create to be great guys. The culture of the Patriots is not the culture of the Patriots that we've seen for the last 20 years. And the only common denominator, or lack thereof, in that situation is Tom Brady. That culture, when Brady went to the Bucs, that culture followed him to the Bucs.
Agreed.
That culture was in the Bucs. It has not been in New England since.
Agreed.
So
Agreed completely.
You can run back the clips. I am a strong advocate that he is the greatest GM this league coach and GM this league has seen to date.
Agreed.
What he did for those 20 years, you can't argue that he wouldn't have done it without Brady. You can't argue he would have done it without Brady. He had Brady and he did it. That's all that matters at the end of the day. Bill Belichick is the greatest to ever be in charge of a football team. That's just, in my opinion, that's just end of day story. But he's not what he used to be. We're seeing a Jim Boeheim effect like we did with SU. It's falling apart. There's a certain time where you got to hang it up. And I think now, I'm not saying he needs to hang it up, but he wasn't the reason that the Patriots were winning solely.
So
I think he's a big issue. I think he doesn't want to move on from.
One thing that I do, and I was going to bring up, but then I'm going to negate my own self with that, is that Belichick was a defensive guy. Coming up, he was a defensive coordinator for Parcells, I believe.
With the Jets, right?
I think so. And he was a linebackers coach before that.
Oh no, was he the defensive coach with the Bills? I don't know. He's with the Bills, the Jets, and the Browns.
It was with Parcells. I know that him and Parcells were.
Didn't Parcells coach for the Jets and the Bills?
And the Giants, the Cowboys. Yeah, Parcells bounced around.
The Cowboys for a while.
Yeah, but I know Belichick wasn't there. Maybe the Browns. I want to say he was with the Browns. Belichick, I know, was with the Browns for a bit.
I don't remember.
But
that was too early for us.
So I was gonna say,
we were toddlers.
I don't know how much he actually puts into the offensive side of the ball. And then I look at their offensive coordinators.
Is he their play caller because their offensive coordinator is a defensive coordinator?
Now he is Patricia. Yeah, it's Matt Patricia, the guy who
left,
went to try to be on his own in Detroit, failed miserably, and came crawling back to Bill.
And he goes, "Hey, I ain't got any spots for you, but
and I'm going to put you in
OC.
So you can be OC." Yeah, and that's still the weirdest thing to me there. And then Josh McDaniels went out on his own. You want to heard it here first? Josh McDaniels will be back on the Patriot staff.
Oh, I saw the meme of Eric Andre where he's like, "Let me in."
That's great.
Today with Josh McDaniels.
Great. That's 100% great. And I say that for a couple of reasons. One being him getting fired and Antonio Pierce. One of the things that he gave at the end of their team meeting was the example of that Giants team that beat the undefeated Patriots team of we didn't think of ourselves as underdogs. We knew that we put the work in during practice, and we had a game plan, a systematical way that we were going to tear down whoever was in front of us, no matter how great they were supposed to be. That's what we did when we beat that undefeated Patriots team. And Josh McDaniels apparently stopped him and said that he stopped him or talked to him afterwards, but took offense to the way that Antonio was talking about
beating him.
The Patriots. He said, "You don't talk down about that organization ever." And
what a loser.
And obviously we're not there. I'm just hearing reports and everything that came out. But that's what came out, and it didn't seem like Antonio said anything that crossed the line about that Patriot squad. Other than
you got waxed.
Other than that culture,
got waxed, McDanny.
That culture of we can beat anybody on any given week. No, we don't care what the paper says, who the other teams got, because we believe in the system that we have down, and we're going to make it work.
Yeah.
Isn't there or wasn't there under the Josh McDaniels era. So I'm saying he's going back to New York because they've had success with him calling plays. He's a proven offensive guy. Maybe he is the answer.
Yeah.
But then, like, the same thing happened to Charlie Weiss. He went to try to Notre Dame, try to be on his own, failed miserably. So those are the offensive guys that he's had around him. Or now he's got Bill O'Brien was there for a little bit as well, and he's no longer there.
So what I'm saying is Mac Jones, not that good of a quarterback, not very good at all.
That's what I agree, and that's where the quotes from the front office confuse me. They're not. It's not that they're expecting more from him to create more or to be a Patrick Mahomes. They're not happy with the way that he's managing the game.
Yeah.
They're saying that they're seeing blown reads, missed up or like not seeing wide open wide receivers down the field and just automatically going to the check down. And I haven't watched a ton of the Patriots super closely, but the games that I have watched, I haven't felt like Max played down to what I expected him to. I don't know if they're...
You think he's been playing in the game? What you've seen, he's played better than you expected?
I mean,
I think
the only two guys that I really expect to catch footballs for their team are Hunter Henry and
Juju Smith-Schuster. He's there.
He's been hurt, I think, a lot this year. And even Juju... When Juju's your number one, he is not proven to produce.
No, he's not.
Juju is a solid number two, but he's not a number one.
Not a number one.
And he's their number one.
He's their number one.
And then, who's the Gesicki? That's their tight ends are their best options.
I forgot they had Gesicki.
That's all they have.
Mike Gesicki.
They cannot draft wide receivers to save their lives.
Yeah.
They can't, and they haven't signed a good one in free agency, one that's worked for them.
Well,
Mohamed Sanu was the last person that I was like, oh wow, they went out and got a wide receiver. Well, this guy's a proven stud, and he isn't even a stud, but he's a good guy.
Receivers. I mean, they got Edelman and Welker. I mean, those guys couldn't do anything outside of playing. The Patriots. They
can draft white wide receivers apparently, and I don't think many people are
the sneaky athletic guys.
When was Welker drafted? And that's where I don't know if Edelman was. Was he?
Wait, he was.
Because Edelman was a quarterback. Edelman was a quarterback out of Kent State.
Wasn't he? Isn't that his whole stick?
I'm pretty sure Edelman was undrafted, and that's a Belichick move.
Look it up real quick. You get when what's his face was drafted. I'll get when Edelman. Was Edelman drafted?
What's his face?
Welker.
Gotcha.
I think he might have been.
I think Wes Welker was drafted.
I think he was too, but I don't remember where.
I don't think he was drafted to the Patriots though. Amendola might have been drafted to the Patriots.
Round. He was taken in the 7th round. Julian Edelman. Almost undrafted. He was a conditional pick type.
Wes Welker undrafted.
Oh, okay, that's what it was.
So I had that one backwards. Was Amendola drafted?
Yeah, but Danny Amendola didn't get drafted from there. He played with wasn't it the Lions before? I think Danny Amendola came.
I thought he went Patriots, Lions, and then Dolphins, but I could be wrong.
I think it was Lions, Patriots, Dolphins.
No, you're right. In the first picture I'm seeing there's a light blue picture.
That was a guy that couldn't stay healthy.
Who was so? Then there was another one. There was another tiny white wide receiver that was with the Cowboys because I remember him.
Oh, Beasley. Cole Beasley.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, Colby. I don't know if he was undrafted, but he was up and down off practice squad and going on waivers. And
He didn't play for Patriots, though.
No,
I'm
just going
undrafted wide receiver.
I mean, that's kind of
Hogan.
the Belichick's guy.
What was Hogan's first name?
The lacrosse player from Penn State. Yeah. Hogan. He was with the Bills for a little bit too.
But he went to them.
Yeah, that's
his
right up
first name?
Belichick's. I don't know how we got down Belichick. We went to Belichick. Oh, they don't draft good wide receivers.
Yeah. And then we just start talking about all the late picks that turned out to be good.
The wide receivers we thought of are late picks.
Yeah.
Like that. It wasn't like we went out and got a
seventh
stud
round
college wide
guy.
receiver. No one's got a Calvin Johnson. You know what I mean? Like, and that's where I'm gonna go look.
I mean,
and see.
outside of those guys, the biggest wide receiver they've had was Randy Moss, and that was 1 year.
And that was a trade.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm thinking Deion Branch. If I'm going all the way back, Deion Branch was pretty good. But I don't know if they drafted him or not. If he was traded, like we're getting into our childhood now. Like,
we're having a stretch. No matter what it is, we're having a stretch. Back to history books.
That's where I've got the Pro Football Reference.
Zay Flowers, didn't he get drafted there? No. That's Ravens. What wide receiver did they get a couple years ago? Name sounded like that.
Keyshawn Bout. Demario Douglas was last year in the 6th round.
No. They took him
They took a wide receiver in the 2nd round in 2022.
Who's that?
Taquan Thornton.
No, I was thinking of.
Taquan Thornton?
Taquan Thornton?
I think that's how you pronounce it, actually.
Thornton. That's honestly all we really got. We kind of just went BS in the line. Thanks for hopping into a little bit of a edited version of Talking Athletics with MTJ. No Joe, but he's here in spirit. I'm Mike. That's Tom. Thanks for joining us. Just a few guys, a couple in this scenario, just talking about sports in the basement. We'll see you next time. Boom.
Dude, like I'm back in the 90s.